Welcome back to the Muze Podcast, where we pull back the curtain on the music industry by talking to the artists, producers, and other industry creatives that make the future of sound happen. Today's guest is someone whose fingerprints are on some of the most impactful records of the last decade, whose career spans platinum hits, Grammy nominations, and now a whole new chapter abroad. I'm thrilled to welcome Zach Jablow, also known professionally as Laev, a producer, engineer, and content strategist whose credits include artists like Mac Miller, Chance the Rapper, and many more. He's built a reputation as a one-stop shop in the studio, producing, mixing, mastering, and bringing in collaborators to help artists bring their sonic visions to life. But his work doesn't stop there. Zach's creative fingerprints stretch into video games, film, children's entertainment, and immersive storytelling across platforms. Now, as he prepares to move to France and expand his international footprint, we're catching him at a fascinating inflection point, looking back on a career that's crossed genres, borders, and mediums, and looking ahead to what's next. Zach, or should I say Laev, welcome to the show.
Thanks. What a
so intro. Excited. Yeah, so excited to have you on.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity to catch you right before you're heading out.
Just want to say kudos to your platform because Muze has been fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, love to have you on, and we'll plug that at the end for sure. But for those of you who aren't familiar, I was just hoping you could walk us through your journey of music production and engineering, like how you got into that.
Totally. I grew up in a very artistic, musical household. Mm-hmm. So naturally, I wanted to rebel and become a doctor.
Yep.
So as soon as I graduated high school, I moved to Connecticut. It was the first school to give me any kind of scholarship and the only one. So I went out there and I thought that I would do pre-med. And then after my first year, I was like, school sucks, and I dropped out.
Yep.
And then wound up working for my dad at a restaurant of his in Baltimore. And my mom was like, is this any better? I was like, absolutely not. And she's like, you need to get back into music. Yeah. And to preface that, I had been in shitty punk bands my entire childhood. And I'd dabbled in recording. My mom was a prolific songwriter, and she would take me to the studio, but it wasn't interesting enough that I was I could see myself doing this at the time. And then as I was managing this burger joint, I felt I should try to get into this. So
back in the family business a bit, yeah.
My mom had bequeathed me her Yamaha Motif keyboard, and she made me pay for shipping, which was the cost of the keyboard itself. And then I got her old laptop and her old M-Box, if you remember what those things were.
Lived on those when I started,
And then I bought a MPC 1000 and just learned and taught myself drum programming and finger drumming, and started making really crappy rock demos in my dad's office, essentially, in Baltimore. Nice. And then my dad was like, can't do this, you're driving me crazy. And so I was like, all right, where am I going to go? And my old college roommate moved to Chicago and went to Columbia College out there. And he had texted me saying how amazing it was. And he's like, you should come out and check it out. So I went and visited. I stayed in the dorm for a couple of days with him. And then I was like, I love this city.
Yeah.
And so I was broke, and I was like, how am I going to get here? Student loan. So I applied, I got in, and then literally moved into the dorms and met this entire generation of producers and artists that ended up becoming what we now refer to as the Chicago Renaissance.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was just this perfect intersection of whatever kismet and fate, or however you want to describe it, but everything had to happen the way it happened for me to get here or there. And then we're talking people like the Cool Kids, and my mentor ended up being this guy named Cosign, who was just a couple of years older than me. And he produced Ass for Big Sean.
Yeah.
And taught me everything about music production. And then this guy Extreme, who was Cosign's mentor. And then this guy No ID, who was Kanye's mentor. And then like it was just all of these people in, like a 60-foot radius of each other, all just making crazy stuff happen. I mean, like I could go on tangents about just this one section of my life, but I bribed the security guard of my dorm to let me bring the Wu-Tang Clan into my dorm room to record them after a concert in Chicago.
Wow.
Yeah. That was crazy. And we were sneaking alcohol up in like guitar cases, and these guys were like just running ramp. It was chaos, but what a experience.
Yeah. Did you have did you end up releasing any of those recordings at all?
I don't know. I think Capadonna released one of the ones that we did.
Oh, nice.
We recorded like 4 songs that night somehow. But it was there was like 50 people in my room, and then the entire dorm learned that they were there, and so it just became a party.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. But I would really chalk up all of my like inspiration and motivation and early understanding of what it was I wanted to do to that, like living in this dorm experience and just having a community where it was like this guy Baron, who goes by Slot A, really taught me like the fundamentals of sampling and like getting good like chops and what it was to like make it your own. And then even somebody like Slot would also be like, you've been sitting in the computer for like 13 hours, time to do some producer stretches. And like just I really formulated like a workflow and a network and a system and a routine. And so it was just this like culmination of people that really shaped who I wanted to become in the industry, basically.
Sounds like you owe a lot to like the mentorship that
100%
arose.
And that's always one of like the little nuggets of advice that I can give is like find a mentor and just be a sponge. I would go to my mentors, and I would have a mentor for just like songwriting, production, being cool. Like, I mean, as silly as that sounds, like I was a very like not confident, goofy looking dude, and I might still be goofy looking, but like I looked up to one guy just because of how much he could control a room and to learn that like, and not to say his music wasn't great, but like it didn't matter. Yeah. He was hypnotizing. So like he taught me to just go into a meeting, don't even say shit, and just hit spacebar and look somebody dead in the eye and just like, if they're not feeling it, make them feel it. And so like he was his own biggest cheerleader, and learning how to like do that made my A&R interactions at label and like different conversations so much different. And so it's just like they say, if you're confident, you can get into any door. And it's really true. Like you act like you belong somewhere and nobody's going to question it.
Really? Yeah. I've seen that true a lot myself, but
yeah,
it sounds like this mentor was really big on, did he teach you like certain tactics, or was it more just like, hey, go in there and own it?
It was like an act for him even. Like he wasn't always on, but like when he had to be on, he wouldn't even be a 12. He would be like a 33.
Wow.
And it would be like an acting exercise. Like he would have to like rehearse some kind of lines, or like he would play a scene out 15 minutes before it. And it was almost like he was trying to anticipate every possible scenario and then have a solution so that he was like just able to control whatever situation he was walking into. And 9 out of 10 times it worked. Like I would watch him, because I was also like quasi his assistant, and I would just watch how he could turn something that was like everybody was assuming to be a no into a sure, and how much more money can we give you? And it's just like, damn. So, I mean, it goes so far, especially in specific types of rooms. But like, yeah, if your confidence can't be challenged, then people seem to just like acquiesce to you, which is like magical thinking almost.
Yeah. I mean, great advice across the board already. But, I mean, were these mentors, whether it was, I mean, literally like a cool mentor, or just, learning your chops on the boards and all that, were they making other connections for you?
Totally. Yeah, I mean, thanks to these people, I was able to get into the rooms with like major label heads and artists and play songs for publishers or whoever. And it wasn't like a coattail mentality. It was literally like the way the Chicago scene worked was everybody was so connected and like a resource for one another. And so it was like, I play bass, but I don't play bass like that person plays bass.
Yeah.
And it was always like, if I get a win, I bring everybody up with me that I can, because I know as soon as that person gets a win, they're certainly not going to forget what I did for them, but they're going to need me again. And so they're going to bring me to that next level. And then we just keep doing that. And so when you look at how many people came out of Chicago in the span of like 10 years and how many people were already like connected or related, all the way down to like Chance and Vic, or even Chief Keef and Herbo, and like it's just everybody had a community. And like Saba had Pivot Gang, and all of them go on to do crazy amazing things. And so it was just this really tight knit group of people, whether it's artists, engineers, musicians, studios, and like they were so insular at the same time as they were available and accommodating, that then even brands were just like aligning themselves with like different people from these groups. And the next thing you know, like you had your wardrobe, your food, your transportation, like everything just became available because this person's got the Red Bull connection, and then they book a festival because of it for their friend who's in this connect, and then that leads to an Uber endorsement, and that, like, whatever.
Oh yeah.
So it was just like a amazing time. And then even if it was like your phone rings and there's an opportunity, but you're like, it doesn't really feel like a good fit for me. Everybody was acting as like each other's agents even.
Sure.
Like, hey, I can't really do this, but if you give me 15%, I'll get you on this next Lollapalooza Brazil or something.
Sure.
I was like, what? That's crazy. And we're all just kids. So
Yeah.
it was a wild time. And we were really shaping the narrative as we wanted. And then, of course, the most outspoken force of the group was Chance, just openly saying, well, it's working. Why do I need you? And then that kind of became the Chicago attitude.
Well, speaking of Chance, like you have worked with Chance the Rapper, and we got a little bit of like how you met and like how that collaboration started, but like I'm definitely curious, like if you have any specific stories on like how that intro kind of happened. Yeah.
So, God, what year would it have been? Probably like 2013. Vic Mensa, who's just this like, to me, one of my favorite artists of all time.
Yeah.
And even at the like early age of, I think 13 or 14, he put out this project, and it was just so incredible. The lyricism, the beat selection, the attitude, like he really started to like shape a sound. And I wanted to work with him by almost like any means necessary. And he started a group called Kids These Days.
Yeah.
And I had caught them performing at the Apple Store, which was like a thing that used to happen in Chicago a lot.
Interesting.
Yeah. Apple stores
yeah.
would throw concerts. And I went up to them with my manager at the time, and I was like, such a fan. I know exactly what I want to do. Can we get into the studio, or can we like have a talk? Like, and they invited me to their rehearsal space. And in the rehearsal space is the first time I met Chance. And these kids are high schoolers. So like they're straight up maybe sophomore, junior age kids.
Wow.
Like
and what year was this?
Probably 2012 or 13,
Yeah.
I want to say. And I mean, yeah, literal kids those days. And the rehearsal space was just like a hangout for all their friends. So there was like me, my manager, my engineer at the time, and Kids These Days, which was a group of Nico Segal, Greg Landfair, the drummer, Macy, who now has like a group of her own called, well, it used to be called I can't remember what they changed their name, but they're amazing. Shout out to them. And I'm choking on the bass player's name. It'll come to me. You could edit that. But a super group of, and then Liam, who now is a part of Wilco. Like, I mean, the trajectory of just all these human beings, fucking crazy. I mean, what a sentence to say. A guy who I was sitting with when he was in high school is now in Wilco. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, do you think that was like destined to happen almost?
Well, whatever, it's on the record. But like, I was rehearsing with them, and we'll get to where I'm going with this in a second. We were rehearsing, and they were playing these songs, and I was like, they're cool. Nothing that had like really grabbed me or anything. And everything just kind of felt like safe. Like they were trying to fit like a mold almost. It was their second album that they were going for. So I think they were feeling some kind of pressure or whatever.
Sure.
And I'm sure other people had been talking to them too. So there was a lot of like in their ear labels or whatever about what type of songs they needed to make. And somebody had said something, and it got Vic to say this like rebuttal of like, man, you're harshing my mellow. Don't harsh my mellow. And I was like, what the fuck did you just say? And he's like, you never heard that? I said, I've never heard this before. And so as they are prone to do, the drummer and the bassist were just noodling while there's conversations going on. And they had this just like back and forth little riff of like F to F sharp, just this like really nasty tone. And I was like, say it again, Vic. And it just evolved into this thing of like, don't harsh my mellow.
Yeah.
And I was, and if you've heard the song, it just starts with just a boom, 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 boom. And then Vic freestyled. And that was it. I was like, this is the song. This is what I want to do. And he's like, I don't want to do this. It's like, we're going to do it. You don't have to pay for it. I don't care. This is it. Trust me. He's like, if we don't have to pay for it, we'll do anything. Like, great. So all of this to say that Jeff Tweedy, like the main guy of Wilco, was in their ear wanting to produce the whole album. And so when I started to work on Don't Harsh My Mellow, it became like a thing with me and Jeff of like, well, I want to do it this way. I want to do it this way. And so Jeff, being Jeff, of course, got the whole album, but then you hear my song, and mine was the only single, just to say.
Yeah.
But it made the internet go absolutely crazy. And then again, back to like that initial conversation, it was just this like, oh, how are we going to pay for a music video? Somebody was like, Adidas has been calling me all day about trying to do something. Let's get Adidas to pay for the video.
Wow.
And it was just that kind of alley-oop. And brands were so thirsty back then that they were like, yeah, we'll pay for the video. And so we just got a whole Adidas music video.
Would you say that attitude shifted? I mean,
from then to now, yeah, brands.
Oh, yeah.
Brands are so stingy.
Yeah.
They're scared money doesn't make money. And like they edited the commercial down, or they edited the video down to a commercial even, like, so it only fed both parties even greater.
Yeah.
It led to the success of the song, and they played the song on
the
Conan.
brand,
Yeah, like, I mean, crazy. What a trajectory. I've been saying that a lot, but like, it's just so, I haven't relived these days in such a long time that it's just wild to think that like a couple of kids I saw play at an Apple store, a weird conversation turned into a single that then was funded by a major shoe company and then performed on the Conan show at the Chicago Theater. Like, all that happened in the span of like 8 weeks. And that doesn't happen these days.
Yeah. I mean,
everything now is so much more like meticulous and calculated, and brands are so hypersensitive to whatever. I mean, granted, the climate that we live in is also crazy, but like, it felt way looser back then. I mean, we're not even talking that far ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah. Lots changed.
So much has changed.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that whole long-winded story of how I met Chance the Rapper. But it's important because painting the picture of kids these days becoming my world at the time. Like, that was my best client. We were talking about what we were going to do next. And then Chance really was trying to like get his sound together. And there had been a couple of like rehearsals or studio sessions where and it's no secret that he was heavily on drugs at the time.
Yeah.
His album is called Acid Rap.
Yeah.
He had like broken equipment, and the studio owner was like, get him out of here. And I'm like literally calling his mom to pick him up. And again, these are high school age kids.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah. But that was like my first few interactions. And I was like, I don't really know if I want to work with this guy. And then the whole suspension thing or getting expelled from high school happened to him. And he created this thing called 5-Day, which is the precursor to 10-Day. And 5-Day was like literally 3 or 4 songs on a burned CD. And there was one record that I remember hearing called Brain Cells that I was just like, man, this guy's got it. I got to just work with him somehow. So I was working with Chance on a song called Hey Ma, which is out.
Yep.
And we had taken a vision from a previous version of it, produced by this guy, MC Tree. And we were just trying to make it more dynamic and more like introduce some levity. And I was already working in the studio with this guy, Peter Cottontail, and Lane is the bassist. And a student of mine, also on a side note, I was a college professor at Columbia at this time. And the student of mine named Lily Kay, who I'd called to come sing the hook, and Greg Landfair, who was the drummer at Kids These Days, was in the room. And Nico Segal was also in the room, and he was the horn player of Kids These Days. And so I put this full live orchestration on Hey Ma, and then it's this like magic click of, oh, this is now going to become like the Chance sound. And so as things would evolve with Kids These Days, they break up, and there was already like a relationship with everybody because they went to the same high school. They were friends. They were part of this thing called the Save Money Clique. And the Social Experiment, which is the name of Chance's band, had basically been formed in my studio the night we made Hey Ma. And so after that, it became the like route that would evolve from 10-Day into Acid Rap. And we'd cut like a handful of demos at my place, one that turned into Acid Rain. And then it just was like bonkers to see what Chance was able to just like do. And his hustle, I think, is the thing that really needs to be studied. His dad was like a campaign manager for Obama.
Oh, wow.
So he had this.
Didn't know that, yeah.
He had this in his blood to like get his message out.
Yeah.
And I mean, he played shows wherever he could. He went to every other high school when there was like breaks between class or after school or whatever. He would go to the library and he would just rap, and he would just be everywhere. And he would basically enact like his network of friends at every major high school in the city to pass out CDs. And he was orchestrating a street team, whether or not he knew it. And just the buzz that he was able to generate with these like burned copies of his, like he was not necessarily overnight, of course, but like within weeks, and he was booking shows, and it was wild. Now there was a void, and like that Kids These Days, I guess, had left, and Chance was really in power position to just step up and be like, I got this. And so people that were talking to me about trying to get Vic and Kids These Days on certain bills, I would just kind of be like, well, they're no longer a thing, but how about this guy Chance? And then, I mean, he's such a magnet for cool shit to happen that it was just like a huge explosion. And then there's that famous story of him going to like South by and meeting Lear Cohen and being like, nah, I'm good. Don't need this.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do for me that I can't do for myself?
Yeah.
And then, you know, Coloring Book comes out, and he's got humongous cameos all over this project. He's performing on Ellen.
Yeah.
Like, And to think like this kid used to pass out on my couch. It's just like, what a great, like, it's just amazing to watch all this stuff. But naturally with the success of Chance's records, my phone's ringing because then people are like, I want that Chance sound.
Mm-hmm.
And so to get to like where I am today, I owe so much to like the success of those records.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, Pharrell is one of my favorite people and my biggest inspiration. And he has a radio show on Apple. And I was sitting at the like Shelby parking lot, just having like a...
Here in Nashville?
Here in Nashville.
Yeah.
Having a terrible day. And just trying to like cool off. And like I was psyching myself up to go for a walk. And he's like playing a mix show. And he's like, I want to play one of my favorite songs. And it's Hey Ma. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. So it's like, if I needed a pick me up, that was it.
Yeah.
And so I just think that it's a lot of luck, but a lot of like shit has to happen. And you just got to be out there.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds lucky, but it also, not to discredit you, I mean, you were going out, you're doing stuff, you're like trying to be at that right place for, I mean.
My stepdad said some shit like, there's no such thing as luck. It's just preparation meeting opportunity. And I think that's so true, but then you forget about that. And you got to be good at something, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the preparation. And
you got to be prepared when it actually the opportunity presents itself. Yeah.
Right.
In a similar way, I try to say when trying to coach like entrepreneurs or other people just looking to get into tech, I do think it's a disservice to say like, yeah, there is a lot of luck involved, but you have to make your own luck. Like you have to like go out and actually, like, and I know it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but it's most of my successes and sounds like some of your successes. It's like, yeah, you never know who you're going to meet at the Apple store.
Exactly.
But you got to go to the Apple store, and like you can't.
You can't just sit at home.
Yeah, you weren't working at this restaurant, just having labels and Adidas and like all these people just kind of pour in.
No.
Where you're at, like it sounds like a lot of it is trying to find what that place and time and skill set is.
I'm a very restless human being, and I'm always chasing joy in whatever form. And like when things don't feel good, or if I get stagnant, then I get very like anxious and listless, and I start like physically vibrating. So it's like I've got to change something until it feels good. And so like a lot of that is just like, especially being in the position, and I don't get to tell this side of the story a lot, but like being a professor at Columbia in Chicago, my students were all like music business students. And so a lot of them were artists who wanted to learn more about protecting themselves and copyright and how to monetize their stuff. And so many of them were brilliant artists and just terrible students. And it was like a conversation I remember having with one artist in particular about like why she was so shitty at school. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, why do you even bother coming if you're going to be 2 hours late, or like you're going to come once every 3 weeks? Like,
sure,
you're just like making a guest appearance and it's costing you a fortune whether or not you realize it. And she's like, I can't leave the house until I get these ideas out of my head. And I'm like, what kind of ideas? And she's like, song ideas. I'm like, all right. It's like, you got to play me something or else like I'm going to fail the hell out of you. And she's like, I don't really want to show you anything because they're all just ideas. I'm like, your life depends on it. And she played me something and I was just sitting there like, get the fuck out. It's like, what? This is you? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, nah, where's your folks? And she's like, my dad lives in Australia. I was like, what time is it there? We have to call him. She's like, why? I was like, we're getting you out of school.
Yeah.
And here I am, her teacher, calling her dad and saying, hey, all the money you're spending on this needs to go to that. And I'm not going to name names.
Yeah.
But I'll tell how this story ends. I took I took full responsibility, and I said to the dad and the mom, I was like, I will pay you back if I have to. Like
Mhm.
30K is on the line, but I know what I'm sitting on here. And we signed a management agreement and a production deal. And my manager, myself, and my mentor at the time start to develop. We get her in the room with songwriters, and we put out the first single, first release. And this is how good I know what I got when I got it, because I did
Yeah.
Chance, I did Mac, and I did this artist. Within hours of the music video that we shot in a bathtub, just for context, if you're trying to connect the dots and figure out who this artist is, I get a tweet from fucking Prince
Really?
saying, I need to meet. And I'm like, what? Prince would not leave us alone. I'm talking voicemails, emails, text messages, not from his like people,
Yeah.
from him.
Damn.
Invites to Paisley Park. And we're like, what the fuck? If we go, we're going to lose her. And everybody's like, yeah, don't go. And my lawyer's like, I'm a great lawyer, but I can't, you don't have the money to keep, like,
to keep.
He's like, he's going to take her.
Mm-hmm.
And then we all have like this power, and we're like, what are we going to do? And then I can't end the story because it will certainly
Identify,
dox the person, but like, man, yeah. And so at that point, it's just like, I still don't know what I would have done differently or how to have handled that situation. And like, it's crazy because you're never ready for a moment like that, like as prepared as you think you could be. But it's a testament to say, like, we make great records.
Yeah, I mean,
so much so that like the legends come calling. And then so it's I just don't know how to quantify things like luck or not luck, because I don't even know what I would consider that. Like, here you have this thing that you dump all your eggs into basically, and you get the almost penultimate result right away, but it's not, you weren't ready for it. So it's like, what do you, I just didn't, that's one of those things that will always like haunt me, because I'm just always wondering like, how else could that have happened, or what could we have done? Or, I mean, ultimately Prince died anyway, so it's like not much, but
I mean, would you say that it like changed how you just approach
hell yeah
similar situations?
Yeah, now it's called like a very calculated, like, I wouldn't, no, not that calculated, because I still like to go by my gut, but like a contingency plan, I guess.
Sure.
Have more ducks in a row, so to speak. But I feel like that probably won't ever happen again. But who knows? I don't know. It's just that to me is one of those things that like I will always tell the story and then always feel weird after it, because it like plagues me, because nobody knew what to do.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's almost like an ambush.
Frankly, it sounds like sometimes there are situations you can't strategize your way out of.
No,
you know, like it's,
I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know if anybody hears this and would have done something differently. I'm just so curious.
Yeah, drop it in the comments. We'll send you something.
Yeah,
it's.
I mean, just the sheer like the feeling of being so conflicted of like, well, let's roll the dice and go, versus if we don't go, he's probably going to get her anyway. But then it's like, yeah, ultimately to put a end to the story, we let the artist decide what she wanted to do, of course, and then she made her choice. But just so crazy.
Yeah, I mean, sounds like it might be definitely a lingering memory, but I mean, it sounds like whether it was this decision with Prince or like even at the beginning of like, I've uh, I also went to school. I've never had a professor tell me to drop out.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, at the very least, what you were doing was still in the best interest of your former student.
Yeah.
So uh, at least there's a happy ending with that too.
She's doing great still
Yeah.
to this day. So I think she, another like put the puzzle pieces, I think she's up to 13 Grammys. So
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, even just being like a part of that career journey, like I'm sure that's,
Of course. I mean,
Yeah.
I think of all these things as like stars on my, or whatever military, I don't know, insignia.
yeah.
Whatever.
Merit
They're great.
badges,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
I like to see people succeed and to win and have their dreams fulfilled. So to play any role in making somebody's life great or better is all I need to sleep at night.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, not enough people like that in the music biz, unfortunately. But
No.
I, on that note, when you have someone who's maybe in like a similar stage as that student was, like up and coming, trying to like work stuff out, and they're approaching you today, whether it's through our platform or just through your word of mouth, your network, what do you recommend for them to like how to be prepared for that conversation?
Yeah, and I'll tell you what I see, especially around Nashville, and I see a lot with like up and coming artists. It's like, for some reason, well, I know what the reason is, I think, but like being prepared also means having enough money to execute at the level of your vision. And that's not to say that like you can make a killer song with $400, but you can't market it for $400.
Sure.
And you can get super crafty and you can hack the algorithm. And if you haven't seen what OK Go just did, look at that. But like we're sitting here talking about luck. And like in that instance, I think a lot of it is going to boil down to, unless you study marketing and really understand how to manipulate and feed into things like TikTok's algorithm or Facebook or run ads in the right place at the right time. And like, that's a lot for one person to do and make great art and feed themselves and go to bed. So it's like, I really try to tell people, and I have the luxury of doing this, of course, because of where I'm at in my career. And I also have a very fulfilling, like, non-music industry job. So it's like the producer, the studio, like the production, that should be the least money you're spending. And the results that you really want aren't going to come from good music or good content or great recordings. They're going to come from great marketing. And we live in a age now where 10 years ago, it was almost the other way around. Like, word of mouth from a great show could really move the needle for you.
Sure.
But you also have to have 25 more shows for people to go to. And then you, on top of that, have to have, $400 of merch available every show to then pay to get to your next show. So it's like, it was never easier. It's always just been hard, and it will stay super hard. And you're competing against like 1 million other artists every week that put their music out and are marketing the right way. Like, it's just so crazy. But I think you really have to have a concrete idea of what you want to happen. And then if you fail to meet whatever that bare minimum is, you need to really break it down and study it, so that way the next time you are guaranteed to succeed it, because everything you've done has a receipt, essentially.
Yeah.
And so if your marketing team failed to hit their goals, you fire them. You don't hire them again. And I see that happen all too often. There's a lot of like burden of guilt or burden of responsibility that the artists takes on, and it's not their fault if like their Facebook ads didn't go well and they paid somebody. Like,
Sure.
there's got to be more accountability on the team. No, but I really think like being prepared in this day and age is having a very detailed expectation. and a plan of how to get to that expectation. And if your expectation is 500 listens, that's all it needs to be. Or if it's 5 million listens, it doesn't matter. But you need to know what you have to do to get there.
Sure.
And you have to know exactly what steps to take, because if you can get to that baseline, then everything else after that is just going to be a matter of feeding the right steps and eliminating the wrong steps. So, starting out with like a 3-month goal, a 6-month goal, a year, 18 months, 3 years, and just really evaluating every little detail until you start to notice the pattern, or you start to find what really works versus what isn't working, and replacing, experimenting, trying, adapting. That's when you start talking to, not to sound whatever, but that's when you would start to talk to people like me.
Sure.
Because I'm not cheap. And it's not that I am more valuable than somebody else, but it's because I will put in place all the things that need to happen that can get you from, like, if you're stuck at very entry level shows, or not getting interviews with Rolling Stone, or not getting whatever, you're not ready for those things yet. And so it's like, I think a lot of people or artists have that expectation of like, oh, I could handle myself when that situation comes. We made a song, and the biggest thing that could have ever happened to us, and we failed because we weren't ready. Like, we met God, and we weren't prepared for that, and it was the most humbling experience ever. And so it's like, there are shortcuts, but when you get to that point and you don't have all the other things in place, you're gonna just bottom out. There's no foundation for you to be supported. And so it's like, I see all these people blow up on TikTok overnight, and it's amazing, but then they disappear because they weren't ready for that success. They didn't have a great web store. They didn't have a tour booked. They didn't have 4 other albums worth of material that they could have released or licensed or whatever. They just had a song. And then people are like, I want more, but there is no more. And then the next shiny thing comes, and then that person is going back to working at Panera Bread or whatever.
Yeah.
And it sucks, but like, it's a double-edged sword. You gotta really be frugal in your goal setting, I think, early on, and then be ready to like pull the trigger on what's next. And again, unfortunately, it takes money.
Yeah.
And like, being rehearsed and having a savings account should be 2 things that just go hand in hand. Not even a savings account. You should never touch your savings account if you're an artist, because God forbid, when that well dries, you're going to need it. But like, you should have a budget and a savings account so that you can feed yourself, because I see too many artists not feeding themselves.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to buy whatever or get to the next show or whatever. But like, you got to really treat it as a job. You got to show up every day. You got to give yourself a little paycheck. You got to save some, and then you reinvest back into your business. And then when you're ready financially, and you're ready musically, and you're ready strategically, then you go make the record. It's obviously all easier said than done.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
everybody's moving 1,000 miles a minute, but if you're just starting out, go slow. Slow down.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of artists that they see like people like Chance the Rapper doing stuff in high school, and there's a lot of like, oh, I gotta move way faster, and like stuff just seems like it's on such an accelerated time scale, because artists love to compare themselves to everyone else.
Of course.
And
but he had an army of human beings. I mean, for every move Chance was doing, even in high school, goes back to like saying he had a whole street team.
Yeah.
And then even before somebody like Pat came along, he had people like me, and he had other producers and other artists that were like already a couple of steps ahead, saying like, oh, this doesn't feel right, or this feels great, or come meet this person, or do this, or let me help you with that. And it's still like, no matter what you can do alone, you can do so much better if you have outsourced it. And so it's not to say that you can't make great XYZ and you can't execute at this high level XYZ, but your art will suffer. You will suffer. You will make yourself sick. You will make yourself crazy. You will then start focusing more on views than you will on content of your material, like the quality of your songs. Like, you're going to just stretch yourself so thin. And it goes back to kind of like what I was saying, having a clear strategy and having a clear definition of who's like responsible for what. A term I very recently learned is called RACI, RACI. And it's like, what's their role? What's their accountability? What's their responsibility? Who needs to be considered, and then who needs to be informed? And so it's like, I think that's it, RACI. But Google that, and then build yourself a little template and just fill that out. And it doesn't have to necessarily be like a legit payroll, but it could be your friends, your roommates, your family, like anybody who supports you, put them to work. Like, straight up, give your mom a job, give your brother a job, give your roommate a job, whatever it is. And then if they really love and support what you're doing, they will happily do it, and they will contribute as much as they can because they love to see you realize your passion. And so don't just do anything alone because you don't have to. And then if you start to get fans, put your fans to work, give them jobs. If one of your fans is a sick illustrator or a sick editor, like, ask them, say, hey, you want a lifetime to my concerts? Help me out. You want free merch for the rest of your life? Help me out. You make it. I'll give it to you. Like, whatever. Just start putting those people in place now. And then when you're playing arenas, you have a staff, and it's people who love you and people who want to take that journey with you. So, like, that's the ultimate fan experience. And it exists because somebody paid Gene Simmons $13,000 to schlep flight cases for a half hour.
Yeah.
So there's people out there.
So switching gears a little bit, beyond all the very obvious music industry success that you've seen just over your whole career, I've also seen you thrive in various other roles, whether it's video games, film, hospitality, TV, children's entertainment.
Yeah.
Do you just have some insight on like what made you to get into that type of work, and also the unique lessons that come from that?
Yeah.
Looking back on your music career?
Going back to like saying yes to a lot of things and just chasing joy. I've been in the music industry for 20 years, which is crazy to say, but COVID obviously affected everybody and everything in such a way. And I became a dad at that point also. And so I had been exposed to things like Cocomelon and Blippi. And whether or not it's luck or whatever we're calling it, I got a invite on LinkedIn to go produce for Blippi, and it took me to LA, and I became an employee for Moonbug for 2 years and produced probably close to 100 Blippi songs and got to write some Cocomelon records. And it's crazy because it's like the biggest artists you could ever work with, Mac Miller, Chance, Lil Wayne, Future, Kanye, like, you're not going to even come close to Cocomelon numbers. We're talking billions and billions of streams, and it's just like, all right. But then also I love to think of like how much range then that gives me, because I think now my LinkedIn record says like from gangster rap to Miss Rachel. And it's true, like, but all the things that I've learned about how brands operate and how trends operate and how everything really functions is really just about what is cool at that time. And the people who are nostalgic and the people who are making like the hire for somebody like me look at what I've accomplished in hip hop specifically and think, wow, that's cool. How can we inject some of that into this not hip hop cool thing? And it's like sounding so contradictory maybe, but like bringing elements of how I make records into something like Blippi, of course is going to put this like inherent coolness into it. And then parents are going to notice probably before the kids do, because a parent is going to be like, hey, this doesn't sound like twinkly little crappy MIDI anymore. Who is this guy? Like, so that really became like a thing for me, was like, no matter what I'm working on, I'm trying to always make it sonically fascinating. And so, like, even when you have a strict corporate sound palette from something like a Coco Melon or a Blippy, there's still ways to like make it feel good versus like something that parents are going to claw their eyes out from hearing 55 more times. So that was my whole shtick with like going into Blippy, and then using my relationships in the music industry with Blippy too. Like, we started to do really cool things, and then Blippy was already massive. I didn't contribute to that, but like I used my background in like sound design and just like vocal production to really bring out the voice acting, and we made a podcast. And that podcast evolved into a Tony. And a Tony is these little figurines. They're toys that go on this proprietary speaker box. And that's what I do now. And so it was kind of like foreshadowing. We made this really incredible like piece of audio that was so new for somebody like Blippy, or for a franchise like Blippy, to do an audio only thing. And now it's one of the best selling Tonys, and it's one of people's favorite like Blippy products. And so we weren't predicting that. We were originally making it into a podcast, and then it just evolved into becoming a Tony. And I had gotten kind of like burnt out really quickly, because like I said, within 2 years, I had probably made 150 songs just for Blippy. That is a busy man. But we left LA, and I came back to Nashville, and I took a job at Yamaha in Franklin. And I was so burnt out that I quit after like 6 weeks, if that, and then moved my family to Europe. I was like, I'm done with all this shit. And took like a whole new state of mind, and thought I was going to be just like homeschooling my kid and just like really starting a whole new life and living a different lifestyle, and like took myself mentally out of the industry. I had also gone through a pretty stupid lawsuit with my old manager. I won't say anything more than that to avoid any problems, but like that burned me in such a way that I was just like, I had finished an album and I was so depressed I didn't want to put it out. It was my first album as Laev. And it just like left such a bad taste in my mouth that I was like, I don't need to deal with this. And so went through a funk, moved to Paris, unfunked myself. And then there was a job posting on LinkedIn that, again, a former student of mine who's doing incredible work tagged me in. And then when she tagged me, a handful of other people tagged me. And then the poster of the job sent me a message on LinkedIn. They were like, well, it seems like you're a very popular choice. I feel like I have to interview you. I was like, well, I don't know if I want to take a job right now. Can you tell me more about the job? And she's like, well, you would basically be like writing and designing stories and songs for these toys called Tonys. And I was like, I mean, that sounds pretty fun.
Really, yeah.
And she's like, why don't you talk to our team? And so I did, and I just fell in love with the company and being a dad, and like seeing my daughter use the toy already. I was just like, this is so cool. And then thinking about like what the process was like to make the Blippy one, I was like, man, if I did this every day, yeah, I would love it. So of course, the resounding answer was yes. And then we moved back from Paris to Nashville. And then it was just it. But like the amount of joy and happiness that I got from doing, or that I still get from doing this, is profound. And then again, I'm producing. So it's like all the things that I've learned over the 20 years of how to make great sounding records based out of like really good initial content, and in this instance it's story and song, is really like just the most innate thing for anybody at this stage. It's like, if you can tell a story without all the sound effects and the sound design and the underscore, and it's a great story, then the Tony is going to be amazing. And same with the song. If you can just sit at a piano and play the song, and people feel something and they connect to it, you don't need all the bells and whistles, but they help. Yeah. So it's just like, I'm just like born to be a producer, I think. And I love it, and I do it. And now I make toys that you can go to Target and buy. And like, it's amazing to hear Pharrell say, this is one of my favorite songs, but it's even crazier to go to Target and hold a toy that you made. Like that's a wild feeling to me. So yeah, I've gotten to have one heck of a run so far, and I'm only excited to see what happens next, because who knows?
Yeah, I'm really excited. If your career, God forbid, was just what it's been up till now, that's already a lot to be proud of. But really excited for this next chapter. Last question I'll ask you is just, as you dropped a few times, you are moving to France next week from today. So exciting. Just want to get your thoughts on like what motivated that move, as well as like how you're planning to, or if you're even planning to engage with like the European music scene, more clients, or more just focusing on Tonys.
I would say a lot to do with like the current state of our country was a big motivator. I disagree with a lot of the things that are happening here. Not to say that anywhere else in the world is so much better, but like even incrementally better, I will take right now.
Sure.
But it's also a very big planet, and there's so much happening in these little corners. And like, I really connect to a city like Paris because it reminds me a lot of Chicago.
Yeah.
Just the way that the people are, and the food, and the like,
it's the art,
the history. Like, I don't have to have a car. So like, also I never had a car before I moved to Nashville, and I hate driving. So I'm very excited about that.
It's a good spot for that. Yeah.
Yeah. But the last time I was out there, I was there for 3 months, and I went to as many shows as I could. I met so many artists, and I went to like underground rap battles. I didn't understand half of it, but like I just connect with people from wherever they are, and I have a lot to offer. And I think it's just a cool thing to combine my perspective and their perspective, and then find this middle ground of like, here's how we put Paris on the map in a musical sense. Like, not many people can name 3 Parisian artists from any genre.
Sure.
And I want to change that. So I have
it's a great goal.
I have a handful of friends. Of course, it's not going to be like copy paste what we did in Chicago, but so much of what I've learned, and Paris is such a hub where a lot of people that I've built relationships in, specifically Chicago, they go 3 to 4 times a year.
Yeah.
So I'll see Vic Mensa and Chance at Paris Fashion Week. And then if I'm working with an artist that's there and they're there, that's just a handshake. And then who knows what comes of that. So it's really just like, nothing's impossible. I'm a very ambitious person.
Yeah.
And I'm tenacious. So it's like, this is a goal. I've set all the little, like I was talking about how to do it with a new artist. Like, I've got my threshold of what I expect out of myself, what results I expect in the first 3 months to a year. And I know who I'm going to rely on to get their parts done. So again, it goes back to that racy thing. Like, who am I relying on? Who's accountable for what? And then if those things start to feel like they're not playing out, I adapt and I find other people to work with, or I find a different path to get to my goals. And so it's not like I'm flying blind moving here. This will probably be the 10th time I've gone in the last year. So I've got a network established. I've got relationships with labels already out there. venues. And again, it's really just being like, hey, this is what I want to do. Do you want to do it? I know we just met, but if it sounds interesting to you, here's my number.
Sure.
And that's it. Like, you don't have to be weird about it. Like, and half the people said, I don't understand, and no, not now, or whatever. But like, the people that said yes still check on me and they say, are you coming on Friday still? Like, you checking out? Are you, like, we're ready. So it's great. I'm very excited. I think I know it'll happen. And I'm just like, also from like a whole different perspective, from just a human perspective, it's a very cool opportunity to give to my family and to give to my daughter. And I think that it's going to give her certain, to be blunt, like certain advantages that we'll see flourish in the next like 15 years, whether or not we stick it out or not. But like a year of school in Paris at 5, that's going to do something to her that I think will be great. Could be terrible. I could be keep ruining my child, but I don't think I am.
I don't think many kids would say their life was ruined by a year in Paris.
No, and at the very least, she'll get a croissant every day or something.
Yeah. But that's really exciting. Can't wait to see just what happens in this next step.
I've considered going back on social media just to like document it, but then at the same time, I'm like, who really cares? I'll let the results speak for themselves.
At least keep us up to date. We'd love to, still just see new work you're doing, anything that you're coming out with. And
I do have the aforementioned album will be put out probably on vinyl.
Nice.
Very limited run, but I got asked by a label if I would do it, and I said, well, I think so. Because it's a great album, but it's one of those things where it's like, it's been 3 years now. Is it still relevant? But of course it is. Music is timeless. So yeah, maybe the Muze exclusive for
let us know about
a
it
single or something.
Yeah, we can't wait to get that out.
And then I have, if it's time to plug, I'll plug another thing.
Yeah, plug away.
Every couple of years I do this thing called Open Season, and it's very live and active right now. But essentially, I'll take songs or beats or just ideas, concepts of things that I made for clients that either never got fully realized or things that I just made to make and never found a home for them. And they sit in a public Dropbox, and there's probably 40 tracks right now. And they range the gamut of genre. They range the gamut of completeness. There's like pop stuff. There's trap beats. There's drill beats. There's fully fleshed out songs that somebody needs to go sing. And then there's a folder for submissions. And in that folder, people will drop what they've done. And it could be a guitar player who just puts licks to a track. It could be a singer singing one of the songs. It could be a rapper taking a beat and making it their own. It could be other producers remixing the beats, whatever it is. It's just this living, breathing thing. And then that was how I made my last album.
Yeah.
And it took forever, but it's crazy. I mean, like, when you look at the credits, there's probably 15 people on one song. And it's just because they played, one person played the trumpet on this, but then the other person played the bass, and the other person did the keys, and then this person is singing background vocals, and this person's singing the first verse and the second. So it's this hodgepodge of like me starting the canvas out, and then allowing anybody to do what they want to do with it. And then me picking and choosing my favorite elements of what was submitted, and then circling back to some of the artists and being like, yo, I love what you did, but let's do it like this. And then it's either getting on a plane to go to like, New York or Lisbon or wherever they're sending to London, and really like producing the song up if it's something that I just am so crazy about. Or it's just like getting on a phone call and being like, hey, I love that lick, but like instead of this, do this. Or it's just so perfect that I just take it as it is. And so there's 5 or 6 finished songs for this one, and the goal is to get to 10, and then I'll put that out.
Nice.
Yeah, so open season. You can find it on my website. You can find it on my TikTok. That's the only social that I have.
We'll drop it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Send us the link.
But yeah, feel free to participate. It costs nothing, and then you get your. If a song comes out and there's 5 people on it, we split the writer share evenly. If there's 100 people on it, we split the writer share evenly. If it's just you and me, we split in publishing. So like, it costs nothing, but God forbid it blows up, make some money off of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun project.
Yeah, sounds exciting. We'll encourage you to check that out. And as always, if you want to work with him, he's on Muze, so we'll drop that link in there too.
And I'm always a plane ride away, no matter where I am.
That's a good way to view it. But thank you again so much for coming on.
Thank
a lot
you for
of great
having me.
lessons learned, and we'll leave it there.
Perfect.
Yeah, thanks for joining us on the Muze Podcast.